Good evening and welcome once again to Plain Talk as we continue our elections edition of this series. It's been a fast moving week. When we last met on Wednesday, we were still awaiting the results of the May 11th general and regional elections. The election results were finally declared on Saturday, and almost immediately after, President David Granger was sworn in as the 8th President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Thereafter, it has been hectic. Only today, the bulk of the cabinet, what is called muscular and a robust cabinet, was sworn in and has taken shape. But before we get there, I want to discuss matters prior to the elections and leading up to the date of the elections with my guest and friend, Mr. Ramon Gaskin. Ramon, welcome to Plain Talk.
Thank you very much. In my opinion, there's no way you can have, this is all my opinion, as you know, from a 16% increase in Region 4 up to a 46% increase in Region 1. So that's my
want to
first
make
problem.
the point. I want to make the point, of course, that percentages can be high, but the absolute numbers can be low. For example, in Region 1, the total number of valid votes cast was 9,139. In Region 8, 3,737. If you compare that with, say, Region 4, 184,000. I take the point about the very high percentages.
I'm starting with the voters list. I'm going to come down to what happened on voting day. What actually happened on the day of the voting. So there's a problem with this voters list, the 92,000. It is my opinion that it's wrong. It's wrong. It cannot
Why
be.
do you believe the political parties, as you know, the process actually allowed for a verification of the list, and political parties could be paid to have their scrutineers go out there? Why do you think they didn't do it?
Well, I think the EAB had indicated a willingness to do some of that work.
But that was very late.
Later, I
In
think
fact,
the political.
at that time, it was already the time had passed.
I think that the political parties are lazy people. I think they're focusing on campaigning rather than statistical analysis of things. I think they're focused on campaigning rather than looking at these things. But one of the problems we
But this preliminary list of electors, as it's called, that came out since late last year. So there was no campaigning going on at that stage.
Well, the reason why they didn't take any interest in it because they're basically lazy people sometimes, but they pay much attention to it. But it's in my opinion, it cannot be. It cannot be. These numbers, they're inconsistent. I think 3, 4, 5, 6 regions, 3, 4, 5, and 6 had reasonable increases in the electoral list. But when it comes to the other regions, I have no confidence in those numbers. Now, that's number one. And then after the people wrote in the media about it, Suraj Bali attempted a reply. And he said a couple of things. He said he had done an extensive voter awareness program that was responsible for all these new people having flocked to register for the first time. And he also said that he didn't have information.
You mean that suggests that wasn't done the previous time?
In 2011 when he was also chairman. And then he said he couldn't account for the what you call the dead people on the list because he said he didn't have information from the registrar to delete them. So it appears that a lot of people who have died in the interregnum were still on the list.
Right.
And then, of course, he said he couldn't handle with the migration. So you get all this big list, these big numbers. I think Suraj Bali's explanations don't wash with me. I think he has an obligation to produce a proper list, a proper clean list.
Well, GCOM has an obligation.
And he didn't do it. He failed to do it. He's a full-time worker. He's there whole year, 5 years, and now on the day that he has to really work.
On this occasion, it was 3.5 years.
3.5 years. That's a long time to get a clean list.
No, but you said 5.
Well, he had 5 before.
Yes.
He got 20 years. He failed. He failed in his duty to produce a clean list, a proper list, an accurate list. And I would therefore agree that with a lot of people are calling for his resignation, I would join that chorus. That's one. That'd be the list. Then, what actually happened on voting day?
Let me before you get there then, let's talk about the campaign.
Oh, the campaign itself. Oh, the campaign itself.
Let's talk about, again, and GCOM comes into this. They have a statutory duty, and constitutional duty to conduct elections that are fair.
They failed abysmally all through, starting with the media, the state media. I think you wrote about it in one of your letters. The state media's behavior was absolutely atrocious and unspeakably obnoxious. And Suraj Pali and crowd and gang did nothing about it. They allowed all this lawlessness to continue. Calm down. And, but one of the problems with the GCOM is that you have politicians in there. Somebody wrote about it in the papers. You have politicians running elections, politicians from each side. I think that's a bad idea. And I'm hopeful that in the reform that is to take place will change all this. There will be politicians trying to run an election where the parties are competing for votes. But the campaign itself, there was a lot of vote buying, I think, in my opinion, especially the interior.
Isn't that what happened in Region 9, in fact?
Yeah.
Where the PPP actually doubled their votes?
More than doubled. PPP went from 741 to 1,836.
Yes.
They got 1,095 more votes out of 1,200 new votes, what I call the new votes. They took, I said they took 1,095 for themselves and give the other guys 100. This region, these election results are bad news. I must tell you before we get on to the details, your friends barely scraped through. They barely scraped through.
My friends.
The AP and you people, AFC. So, but Suraj Pali, while all this lawlessness was going on, he did nothing about it. You see it every day in the papers and the TV and Channel 9, what this is abuse of the state media. And on one occasion, I think the state media offered the opposition party 10 minutes of time. Isn't that amazing? I see one of them interviewing the new minister of the presidency, or the minister and the minister of the presidency.
Well, things have changed dramatically.
Yeah, but isn't this guy shameless? Because only last
Chronicle is actually readable now. I'm not trying to promote
I bought Chronicle today for the first time. So the campaign.
Did you enjoy reading it?
I'm watching all of them. The campaign, a lot of race baiting, a lot of the state media, a lot of vulgarity from the state media, and therefore I would have to say I don't think it was fair. Of course. And next thing about this campaign, very expensive, a lot of money being spent, and we need to come. You mentioned it before. We need to get serious campaign finance.
That's another thing GCOM has been running from.
Yeah, they run from. All of them run from it. So you have a lot of money all over the place, and I don't think it was a fair campaign at all. But the opposition people, they barely prevailed, notwithstanding. That would be my.
Would you say this discussion as to whether voting is racial or non-racial, principle based or interest based? How do you describe voting in Guyana?
I would say over the years, the political parties have developed constituents and supporters over the years, and much of it having to do, I would say, since Burnham and Jagan, since the national movement split, and they both tried to consolidate and mobilize their supporters and so on for elections. But I would not, if you were, say, a sugar worker, Enmore and Lenora, and you have a preference, say, for the PPP and the GAU and those people, and you voted for them, I would not say you're racist. I would never accuse you of being racist.
How would you describe that?
I would say there's very good reason. There's very good reason why a cane cutter, what we call cane harvester, would vote for the PPP and the GAU people. Because the PPP and Jagan since 47 have been struggling for them. And they're very more comfortable in that group. And similarly with the Afro-Guyanese community, they're quite comfortable with the PNC. A lot of them historically, they have great affection for Burnham as a leader in those days, in the same way that the Indians had great affection for Chedi. And similarly, I would not accuse those people of being racist because they have this great affection for Burnham. I think it's wrong to accuse them and say you're voting race. There's very good reason why they're voting the way they are. Of course, there are some people, I would say a small minority, that actually vote race, regardless of whatever is put to them.
And you have some people, votes being bought.
And you have people, some vote buying. But in the main, generally speaking, the voters in this country at the election day vote for the parties that they're comfortable with, that they like, that they have confidence in, that they believe have served their interests over years, over a long period of years, and also they could identify with culturally and so on. A lot of the Hindu voters who are attached to the dharmic Sabha temples and so, they're quite comfortable with Ripu and his daughter and all these kind of Hindu people, and they vote PPP. And so I would not attack them and accuse them of being racist because they vote where they're more comfortable. I wouldn't do that.
All right.
I wouldn't do that.
The election results came out in a rather tedious process.
Yeah. Bali style.
Again,
this is Suraj Bali.
made a complete mess.
Suraj Bali again. And he keeps saying he's embarrassed and he's embarrassed. He had his country shut down for a whole week. While he and his people were trying to count 2,000 pieces of paper that had already been counted in the 10 districts.
Which is where they're supposed to be counted.
Where they're supposed to be counted. But because you have politicians at GCOM, they want to count everything over again.
You know, they have absolutely no right to be
do
doing
that.
what they have done. The responsibility and the functions of the commissioners, the general oversight and direction.
They want to count every piece of paper.
Not administration and counting of statements of
They
poll.
want to count every piece.
And you know, they really kept people in this country on tenterhooks. It was a dangerous
and they kept the economy shut down for a whole week while they're counting all these pieces of paper. And I find they're entirely incompetent and useless as a group. I hope they get serious reform of this thing.
The results were pretty close, but that's.
But when you look at some of the regions, what happened here?
Now, what I want to get onto, because we got a lot.
You don't want to talk about rigging. You don't like the word.
No,
rigging?
you already discussed that.
I didn't discuss it yet.
We went on the list.
No,
now, what I wanted to do.
Because say in region 8, the PPPC. They captured 90% of all the new votes that came in there.
No, I keep saying
this is a place where they only had 30% of the vote the last time. But all these new people.
What you mean is the increase in the votes.
The increase in
was
the vote
equivalent to 90%. Yes.
I said they took 90 of it.
Well, we don't know. You don't
I'm
know.
saying that.
No,
I say that. Naram.
No, you do not know how an individual voter.
I don't know how an individual voted.
So you're assuming.
Oh no, but I'm taking all the regions together.
That's what I'm saying.
To see voting patterns. In region 1, the PPP got 72% of all the new votes, we call it.
I keep saying, Raymond, the increase in the votes by the PPP was equivalent to 72% of the
but in 2015, in 2015, the PPP enjoyed 70% there. Mm-hmm. Of the votes cast.
Yes.
And 67% in 2011.
Right.
So if they get 72% of this increase, it's close to what they've been getting all the time. And if you look at region 3, they captured 65.3% of these new increase in votes. But
okay, in 2011
they had 65.
They had 65. So if they get 65 in the new votes, you would expect that. I think the point you're making is those regions where they actually lost in region 8, and suddenly they doubled their votes.
So I'm saying
in region 1 they had 225% of the votes. They over double.
In region 6 with 8, in region 6, they got 104% of the increase in votes. There are only about 7,000 people increase in the total vote.
But you accept
they
again,
got 7,000.
Let's not oversimplify.
No, I don't.
Let's agree, however, that a lot of people who had voted the AFC in 2011 may have gone back to the PPP
No,
in 2015.
I don't accept that.
Now,
I don't.
the polling all right.
But I'm looking at
No,
numbers.
you're looking at overall numbers.
Total numbers.
You know these numbers are an aggregate
Yes.
of individual polling stations.
Yes,
and
yes.
You can see the movement in individual polling
They're
stations.
moving back and forth.
Yes.
I don't know who.
Anyway,
moving
carry
from
on.
where. But I'm taking the total position. So if you tell me, or the PPPC tells me that of all the increase in votes, they were able to capture 65% of it. And they captured 65 in 2011. I would say that sounds more or less.
Let me ask you this.
But when you tell me that you take 90% of this increase in the votes, in a district where you only had 30% the last time, I would say that is rigged.
Region, yeah.
That is totally rigged.
Let's
and
take
in region
all right. Let's
6.
No, Raymond, please. Let me ask some questions.
Yeah.
Overall,
Overall,
the PPP increased their votes by 21.86%.
they increased their votes by 36,000.
21.86%.
But somewhere.
And the coalition.
Total, you mean?
Yes. The coalition increased their votes by 18.39%. How wide, how dangerous is the margin at the overall level?
Oh, well, of the 206, the
211.
206 to 202?
No.
We ended up in 2015.
Oh, you mean the total number?
Oh, I think that notwithstanding all that went on, the AFCA PNU barely scraped through.
No,
notwithstanding everything that went on.
But the point is, they did get 18.39% more votes than they got in 2011.
Yes, they got more.
Now, the PPP is saying...
Well, of the 70,000, well, it's increase in
yes.
people who apparently turned up the vote. The PPPC took 36,000 of it.
Yes.
As against 32,000 for the other guys.
You mentioned my friends just now.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about...
Let me ask you about
your
friends.
Your friends, apparently the elections are not over for them.
No, the elections are never over because, if you're in the PPP for one day, there's big mythology in Rob Street that the PPP has never lost an election.
Cheated but not defeated.
No, but they never lost. That's one of their slogans. That's a slogan. But the mythology is that they've never lost one. That's a different thing altogether. They never lost one.
So, where do you think that is going?
Well, the PPP dissatisfaction with the results.
Yes.
The PPP should be happy with the results because, in my opinion, they got a bigger percentage this time than they had the last time. The last time they had 49.5, and now they end up with 49.9 or something.
No, they had 48.6.
And now they get 49.7. So they overall they did well. It's hard for them to accept defeat, and it's hard for them. They've been enjoying the thing for 23 years. But all good things must come to an end, we know that. And it's difficult for them.
Where do you think it's going, though? We've had election petitions, and just for the benefit of viewers, I think GCOM has 15 days within which to gazette the results of the elections, and then the political parties have 28 days within which to file an election petition, which is a challenge to the election results. We've had lots of election results challenged in Ghana.
Well, I hope there's good ground here for the APNO AFC to challenge what went on.
And they would not want to challenge the election.
Well, they might. They should.
Why would they want to challenge the results?
Because it's clear lawlessness and they get robbed. This is simple. Now because you won, they scrape through.
No, okay.
They should challenge it.
Let us say they challenge it. What remedy are they going to ask the court
I don't know
for?
what they're going. I don't know what they're going to ask for.
The question.
But you're a lawyer, and when the people sue and the other one comes to sue, eventually you might throw out both cases. They do it in court. If you sue me and then I sue you, and I sue you, the judge might throw out both.
Do you get a sense, Raymond? We've heard since Saturday the PPP talking, and Mr. Jaglio went on television. My former president. Do you think it's going to go anywhere?
No.
An election petition?
I don't think so.
In terms of overturning. Remember Claudette Singh overturned the 1997 elections?
A week before the next elections. She took 5 years to figure that one out.
And the law says you meet from day to day.
No, yeah, but she took 5 years,
Yeah.
and even at the end, her decision was challenged by a lot of people. Her
Yeah.
decision had some problems.
Strange
there.
enough, you're quite right. The elections, again, viewers.
On the eve of
she
the election, she
challenged-
came up with something.
I think it's the opposition
Yeah.
that Esther Pereira.
Yes,
was
the
name of
prayer
it,
matter, yeah.
challenged the results
Yeah.
of the 1997 elections. Ms. Claudette Singh
Yeah.
found that as the judge, found that the elections were in fact
But-
invalid.
But not sufficient to upturn the results.
Well, no, but she said it didn't matter.
It
That's
doesn't
it.
matter, yeah, but she took 5 years to figure it out. Well, according to the major, she's being tipped to be something like this.
Speaker,
You're
Speaker.
kidding me. You got to be kidding me.
Why?
Because you just explained why. You just explained why. Because she took 5 years to deal with the election matter.
I think it's 4 years in that case. It was
Well,
1997.
Well, any judge
Remember
that,
the elections, a slight
any
abridgment.
judge that takes 4 to 5 years to deal with the election petition, which is a critical and crucial matter that needs to be dealt with urgently, I don't think should be considered to be the speaker.
Well, she is being
And
considered.
they
my
talk,
friend.
the Commingsburger talk about a speaker coming from civil society.
Civil society.
I don't know if she's from civil society. I don't know what civil society. I thought civil society was the TUC and the human rights and the private sector. I don't know.
Consumers Association,
them kind of, I don't
GHRS.
know that she's from any civic society.
Um,
And right now she's a public servant and contract to the Ghana Police Force.
Yes.
So I don't know.
She was also working in the Ministry of Legal Affairs
Yes.
with the
Yeah, with
the law revision exercise.
Yeah. So I don't know if she's from civic society. She's a contract worker at the Ghana Police Force, at the Ministry of Home Affairs. So I don't know if she could be civic society. I don't know what they mean by civic society, but I don't think she is. Incidentally, this question about this 571, there's 90,000 people on the voters list. We have declining population here, as you know.
Yes.
The population is down to 747. There was the highest
This is the 2012
census.
census. Yes.
The population in 2000 was 796. 2000, I have some now, 796. We have a declining population, everybody going away, but we have an increasing voter
But you could
population.
still have voters. You got
No,
less children.
You can't, because the census, when you look at the census, they tell you that in the 2012 census, which is close to the 2011 census, there was
Close
six-
to 2011
to 11 elections.
Elections, yes.
There's 66,000 people in the age group 15 to 19,
Yes.
the teenage group. Some of them voted, of course, in 2011 because this is
They were
2012.
19, yes.
But those at age 15 didn't get to vote, and maybe 14 and 15 and 16 and so on. So you really only have about 13,000 odd in
New
each,
voters, yes.
in each age group, age 15, age 16, age 17,
Yeah.
on average, mathematically. So you really only getting about 40,000 new people by 2015 who were not teenagers, who were not able to vote.
So where the 90,000 come
Well,
from?
I just told you, Suraj Bali failed. He failed to produce a list that is credible to begin with.
Yeah, okay.
He failed abysmally. To his 91,000 got all the people who left. The dead people he didn't take off the list, because you see the net here. We have on average about 22,000 births per annum from 96, 94, 95, 96.
And it's now falling.
Yes, falling, but it's 22,000 who could now be voters. And we have an annual death rate of 5.3, 5.4, 5.6, 5.3. So we have a net annual increase of population of about 16,000. So if you only put on the people and you don't want to take off all, you get a list that is not credible, it's not reliable, it's not accurate, and Suraj Bali is the man who's to take the responsibility for it.
It's again, I make the point. It is GCOM.
GCOM.
The political parties, the opposition parties have 3 members on the commission.
Well, they failed.
The government, the PPP has 3 members.
They've all failed. The GCOM,
So it's not
the
Suraj Bali alone.
chairman, well, you know, he's the big boss man there, with his big arrogant self there on election day and after. And lo and feel, I think they've all failed. They failed to produce a proper list of electors
Why
ab
do
initio.
you think the government withheld the detailed census results?
Oh, well, anytime you release those results, it would show clearly that the electoral list is absolutely flawed, because the census results is showing that between 2002 and 2012, there was a decline in the population of 3,003.
Yes,
from 751,000 to 748. This population is declining all the time. But if you take about the age group that is becoming of age to vote, this 15 to 19, you will see that if you release all the details about the census, it will prove conclusively that the GCOM list is wrong. I've already looked at it. I have no confidence in
wouldn't you say that the finance minister now, because he has been sworn in, he was sworn in today.
Yeah, Mr. Jordan, I think
Mr. Winston Jordan,
new minister.
Shouldn't that be one of his first tasks, to say to the chief statistician, look, I need, because he's the responsible minister
there.
Shouldn't he say, look, I want the census results to be released?
Well, they should be released. They should be released. You need to know this. The census was completed in 2015, 2012, and we should know now. We should have the details of it, so we can do independent analysis of these things.
So now let's get back to what we were talking about the PPP. That's over. As far as you're concerned, it's an academic exercise.
I think inside the PPP there would hardly be consensus on the way forward now. Some of the hardliners will want to pursue some litigation and keep challenging it and protest.
Who would you say are the hardliners?
The big hardliners inside the PPP now?
Yes.
Headed by Jagdeo and Gail Teixeira and Rohi. Absolutely. I think Luncheon, who was part of that quintuple, he is retired. I think he would retire now. And Ramatar would probably retire too, but the Jagdeo, Gail Teixeira, and Rohi would carry the line, and some other junior people. You know, the PPP leadership right now is 5 of the EXCO people. They run the whole show.
Now, we'll get to the
But
cabinet.
they wouldn't agree on what the way forward. You have hardliners. I have a lot of people that say, man, let's get on with business. Udi Nishmel and Robert Passad and all this, let's get on with business.
What do you think will happen with the list, the PPP list, going into the National Assembly?
Well,
they've got 32 seats.
32 seats.
They got 12 constituency seats and 20 from the national top-up. Who you see going into the National Assembly for the PPP?
Of the 32, I could pick them. I got to see the whole list.
Who you think are not going?
Well,
you think Jagdeo will go into the
No. Jagdeo doesn't want to be a member of parliament. Jagdeo wants to be president. He wants to be president. He doesn't want to be an MP. He wants to sit down and waste time as an MP. He doesn't want that. He wouldn't go there. Nor Sam. It'll be, I think certainly it will be Rohi. He might probably be leader. I doubt whether Donald would want to go there. It will be Rohi and Gail Teixeira and Nanlal and Kwame McCoy, a lot of them unemployables. Neen Kumar, they'll have to find a little work for them.
Well, there's a limited number that you could put in.
Some of them.
There's only 32.
Well,
12 would come from the constituency.
Well, they're all in the PPP Central Committee, got 35 people thereabouts. Komal Chan will go back, and Darren Siraj from the RPA will probably go back. Those are from the subsidiaries of the PPP. You know, this PPP has 4 subsidiaries. They'll put back Ripo's daughter, because the PPP,
the union,
the union, the RPA, the ISC, and the Dharmic.
Yes,
they will go back. So that's how they will. But the unemployables, because Kwame, you have to go back in as an MP, because where else can he go? He can't go any place. Not employable. Nor is Neet Kumar.
Now, Dr. Ashish Singh, who has had a very successful stint as finance minister, you see him going back in the
Ashish Singh, I think, with his PhD, be looking for Washington for a job at the World Bank or the IMF. They might take him.
Would that have to government blessing? The World Bank or the IMF might want to check with the Guyana government?
They will check with him, but they'll take a person like Ashish Singh. He's qualified to be the World Bank IMF. He has a doctorate. He's an accountant like you. He's a smart guy. They'll go. Like Azhar Garali ran up there for a job. They'll all go to Washington to get a job.
There are clearly some
I
people.
don't think Kwame could go, but Ashley Singh can go.
There are some people who are clearly in a spot of trouble.
I would say.
The
Auditor
auditor
Brassington and those kind of people.
Yes, Brassington, the Auditor General. He didn't do a good job, did he?
No, I don't think so. They may not keep the Auditor General.
But
he's not a qualified.
It's a constitutionally protected position.
It's a constitutionally protected. I see in today's papers Ramson writing that he can't be removed.
Yes.
And he quotes some section of the law where the president asked him to go, he got to go. President is a serious, disciplined man from the military.
No, but the president also believes in the rule of law.
He believes in the rule of law, but what Ramson is doing, he only quoting one part of the law. There's another part of the law which says you have to work for your wages, buddy. He didn't quote that part. Ramson hasn't done anything since he gone there as Commissioner of Information. He hasn't done anything.
What about your friend Brassington?
Which one of them? Brassington? Well, you know, if you read the APNO manifesto carefully, APNO plus AFC it's called, it says there that the APNO AFC government would invite forensic investigators from the RCMP and the FBI in Scotland Yard to come down here and help them investigate some of the skullduggery. I don't know if you read that part, but I read it. Well, I'm hopeful that will happen. They will stick to their word. When those people come from the RCMP and the FBI and the Scotland Yard, they will deal with all these people, I think, in the fullness of time. There's a lot here to investigate. I don't even know if the yard has enough men to come down here to deal with the investigative requirements here.
Do you see, and there is this discussion.
Well, but the politicians on the list.
No.
The politicians on the list.
No. About witch hunting versus investigations. Should the APNU AFC be concentrating resources on pursuing these investigations or getting on with the business of government?
They have to do both. They have to investigate people. But what I notice here, and the same thing happened in 92, nobody has tendered a resignation to the president or to the government. Political appointees, the chairman of boards.
One reason today's papers, Mr. Gajraj has done so. The Ghana High Commissioner to India.
He has done so.
One understands that Mr. Niaz Subhan from NCN has...
And you have a lot of permanent secretaries who are on the list, and public officers like Dharmlal at the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs and so on, managers of state entities like Rat Singh and Badri and all. They should submit their resignation to the government and give the government the opportunity to decide whether they want to keep them or not. Many of them. But throughout the system, I think all of the other political appointees of chairman of boards and so on should submit the resignation to the new government, especially those who are politically appointed. All the ambassadors should do it right away to give the new government an opportunity to review the performance of these people and to decide whether they want to keep them or not. If you look at Norbat as ambassador in Canada, he's in the Central Committee, Merlin Udo, Miss Ali from Cuba and so on. They all should submit a resignation to the president. We have a High Commissioner in England there for 23 years. I don't know what he's waiting for. He should have done it long ago.
Well,
I know what he's waiting for.
The new Minister of Foreign Affairs,
he will deal with it again.
He said politically appointed diplomats will lose their jobs, which is a normal thing.
But
anyway.
why do they have to wait until the new minister fires them? Isn't that a proper thing to resign? I remember years ago in 92, when I was in the government at the time, and we had all these, the Guy Bank people, the Co-op Bank people, GCIS mortgage. Nobody resigned. So I called them to a meeting with the minister. I think it was 40 people, and I fired all of them because nobody wanted to resign. So I just fired all of them one afternoon. That's it. But I think it's terrible. These guys don't understand what's required of them. Terrible.
We started earlier by saying things have been moving so rapidly. Within, what is it, since Saturday, today's Tuesday, 4 days.
Now you got your ministers.
You've got your cabinet,
most of your
cabinet
in
having
the cabinet,
been sworn
I
in.
didn't see. I was thinking I didn't hear the couple of things in this cabinet thing. I think you have 4 more ministers to be appointed, you say, but I didn't hear about a minister of the environment, nor natural resources, nor labor, nor trade, industry, sports, youth, agriculture, housing, culture. So I don't know about what's happening there.
It was announced today that the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment will now fall directly under the President and his Ministry of the Presidency, which is a new name for the office of the President.
Yeah.
So that answers that. They're taking that one.
So who's taking labor, I wonder? Since you know all these things.
I don't. I'm reading the media, Mr. Gaskin.
You're reading like me.
Yes, just like you.
So who's getting labor and youth and sports and agriculture and housing and marine affairs and industry and trade?
The one on
information, I think, is going to the Prime Minister.
You said
he said tonight he's doing information. But you still have about 11 more ministries to deal with. So if you only have 4 more ministers to do, the 3, 6, 11. About 7 more of these things would fall to the new ministry of the presidency.
Well, no. What is happening? You have combination of ministries. For example, Mr. Ronald Bulkan will be the Minister of Communities, which is a very new sounding. It is a new term.
That means Amerindian affairs.
No. It's housing, water, and local government sectors. Now,
water, and local government.
You yourself have said that you didn't think we needed a Minister of Water.
No, because we have the GWI. You don't need it.
You don't need a Minister of Housing.
Because we have Central Housing and Planning. It's set up by Parliament.
So it's just policy issues.
Yeah, but why they keep? You don't need it. What you need is some minister to answer in Parliament for it.
Well, that's what the minister does. That's what.
Oh, but that's not what these ministers do. Ministers here want to run the thing. They don't want to answer. They want to run it.
No. What we're saying is that this is how this is.
We have a national sports council in this country.
So the local government falls within the Ministry of Communities.
Well, local government, a central government, Ministry of Local Government sounds to me dichotomous, to use Chetty's word. A central government, Ministry of Local Government.
Well, somebody has got to oversee it, however. And that's what it is.
Well, I
think the central government.
You know what? I think the regions should oversee all that stuff.
No. Each region oversees its own governance and government within the region. But who pulls it together? Who answers in the National Assembly for them all? And that's what I think it is.
Well, we'll see. What else you got there?
You have Attorney Kemraj Ramjatan to head the Home Affairs Ministry.
Yeah, I think they've changed the name for that.
It's the National
Security?
Yes.
They like new words, I notice. In all this, they have something called social cohesion, social protection, all kind of new words. Well, I know they don't like HPS for sure. The man doesn't want to be the HPS, he wants to be a minister too, like everybody else.
Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan getting the Ministry of Ministry or whatever it is, by whatever name, is in fact part of the Commingsburg Accord.
They get 40% of the
ministries, but not the ministers.
Yeah, well, that could be problematic because you could get 40% of the ministries. You can get 6 ministry out of 15, and the other guy gets 9 ministries, which is just 60%, and he gets another 6 junior ministers.
Or he can get 15 junior ministers.
Yeah, he gets a lot of junior ministers because I see that here. You have a APNU minister of health and an ex-APNU minister, junior minister of health.
Yes.
So you got 2 ministers in one ministry, and you have 2 ministers of social protection in an APNU ministry. So I'm not sure. This 40-60.
Well, it works with ministries, which is what it was.
I don't think anybody anticipated that if you had the 4, 6 and 9, and then they get 9 more on the 9, you could end up with 6 and 18. I don't know how they'll do it. Oh, when it's all finished, who will get how much.
I guess you would have expected Attorney at Law Basil Williams, who is the chairman of the PNCR, to be the Attorney General Minister of Legal
Well, I
Affairs.
expect him to be the Attorney General because he was the so-called shadow minister. That's why. Because he was the shadow. They have something in this country called shadow. They have it in England too.
Well, Dr. Rupert Rupnarine was the shadow Minister of Agriculture, wasn't he?
No, he was shadow minister of agriculture.
Yes. But that has now gone to the AFC.
We don't know. There's been no announcement.
As part of the Commingsburg Accord. Yes.
Did they get agriculture?
Yes.
Well, Rupert Rupnarine, he's been sent to, appointed to education.
Yes.
Well, he's trained in that area. He's been an lecturer and educator. I don't see why he should be uncomfortable with that.
Well, I don't think he is.
Well, I hope he's happy.
Cathy Hughes as new Minister of Tourism. And these ministries, we seem to have one of social protection and one of social cohesion.
Two of social protection and one of social...
Yes. No, a Ministry of Social Protection. And a
two
ministry...
ministers.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Vola Lawrence and Simone Brooms. And social cohesion
is
Amna Ali.
Well, I get double protection because I got two ministers now instead of one.
Well, it sounds like you have three ministers.
No, on the protection thing I get two.
Yeah.
On the cohesion thing I only get one. But I get two ministers protection, so I'm reasonably well protected with my two new ministers, I think.
One, because of the way the information has been coming out, I think in another part of the media, I read that Mr. Dominic Gaskin is going to get a Ministry of Investments and Business, something like that.
I don't read the mirror. I just wait. I don't follow those things. I wait until the president makes the official announcement. I don't deal with those things.
Which, of course, would mean that would that complete the
trade industry and go invest and so on.
No. Would that complete the AFC complement?
Well, they're supposed to get 6 out of 15 ministries.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, right now that one completed because they only have right now Nagamoto, Ramjatan,
Cathy Hughes,
Patterson.
Patterson, that's 4.
They need 2 more. Dominic Gaskin.
Dominic is 5, so they will have one more.
But I don't know what Dominic will get.
The one would be agriculture. No, Dominic
will get that and agriculture.
Yes.
They'll make it 6. Is he connected to me somehow? He has my surname.
You have to answer that question.
I was checking the archives. I didn't figure it out.
You have to answer that question. We've gone back to vice presidents as well, which is part of the governance structure. So vice president.
The Constitution provides for all that.
In fact,
Rupert is a vice president too.
Well, that was not said.
He said
today.
It wasn't said.
Yeah.
The only man who said he was vice president was the prime minister.
Because the Constitution says that.
Yeah, the prime minister is the
first vice president.
Said anyhow, he doesn't have to say it.
Winston Jordan, and as finance minister, and Carl Greenidge as minister of foreign affairs, they stand alone.
I think they changed. It's still called foreign affairs.
I think that changes up as well.
Okay, it changes something. Yeah, they're standalone.
Yes, it's really you will know what is the proper designation when it is gazetted.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, an order must come out setting out all these ministers, ministries, and the areas for which they have responsibility. The campaign has been it's strong on rhetoric, it's fairly bad on language and cussing out. There was no hint of economic framework, economic ideology.
No, there's no ideology in place.
And in the cabinet that you've seen Mr. Granger's very activist, hands-on, muscular approach to government.
Mr. who?
Mr. Granger, President Granger, yes.
Yeah, President Granger.
Well, where do you see, where are we leaning? Pro-workers, pro-business?
Well, I think they're leaning towards carrying out their manifesto. The manifesto is clear. They have the 100-day manifesto, but the big manifesto of APNU has 420 promises. I don't know if you ever counted them, but I counted them. These little stars.
But they've got.
And that's what they want to do. That's what they have to do. That's what they run on, and that's what they have to do.
That was fairly pro-worker, though, wasn't it?
I won't say no.
A social
they talk about
wages.
They talk about wages, public service wages, and
collective bargaining.
They talk about pensions and so on.
Raising pensions.
Poverty. The president is talking about dealing with poverty issues. Yes.
Education.
So
those would be considered very social.
Really, focusing in his speeches since he became president on three things: this poverty amelioration, this education, and crime. Those three things he's been talking about.
Given the cabinet that you've seen, you've read the manifesto, you've counted all the asterisks.
Yes. Little red stars.
Is the cabinet as named up to achieving the tasks that are set out for the first 100 days?
I think for the first 100 days, the president will drive that process for the first 100 days. The president and Harman and Nagamoto. And it's quite possible that because they've listed these 21 things for the first 100 days, it's quite possible that at the end of the 100 days, they will announce that they've done these 21 things. The 420 things, that's a different kettle of fish. Yeah. They have 5 years to do that.
So you have 15 ministries, and you've probably got about 21 ministers.
Yeah, you'll end up with
you will end up around some video.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it, it's not a particularly challenging task to get those matters done in terms of human resources.
You mean in the first 100 days?
Yes.
Oh, those things were they listed for the first 100 days could probably be done in the first 30 days.
Some of those things are letters calling in search Bali and said, tell me when you can have local government elections.
Yes. And some conference at Keen Farmers and some other conference of somebody. You could always get a new
And
conference.
all these things can happen simultaneously.
That could happen. Yes, that could happen. You don't need 100 days for all that. And wages and I guess when the budget is come out, the new minister will announce something about wages and hopefully invite the unions to commence collective bargaining with the
Well, you don't have to wait for the budget to come out. As a matter of fact, it would probably be good to start having a negotiation so you know what to put in your budget.
No, the budget has to come out reasonably quickly because we're already in May month. We've been running the whole year without the budget.
We have under the Constitution.
You have many more months to do it.
You have
constitutionally.
Yes.
But I'm saying on a practical thing. We haven't had a budget since the commencement of the year, and I think the earlier they can get it done would be better. I think they should have been working on it all the time, and they should be able to bring it forward in the next 2 weeks, but I don't think that's the plan.
Now that you raise this, I think the president has a problem. He has created some new bodies, and you need to have some kind of financing for those bodies in order to make them proper. And I hope this must be one of the challenges for Mr. Basil Joseph. You can't just create these things. I mean,
who's Basil? You mean Jordan?
Basil Williams. Sorry.
Basil Williams.
We have to make sure. The one thing I'm sure President Granger would be careful about is to ensure that he faithfully observes the Constitution.
Yeah. But to rename something social services.
No, create new ones. I'm talking about.
Is there a new one? Is there new ministries created here? This is social protection and social cohesion. I don't know if they're new. They're just new. They've been renamed. The office of the president. The HPS has been renamed.
That's a
renaming.
What do you think of the renaming of the convention center?
I have no real big problem. It's not critical. It's not neither here nor there. But to honor the President Arthur Chung, I have no problem with that.
Now, we talk about the human resources to get the job done. You have looked at the 100-day plan. You've looked at the commitment on wages. You've looked at the commitment on taxes. Can all of those commitments by the APNU AFC be delivered upon?
They have 5 years to do it. The
No,
manifest is a 5-year
No,
thing.
no, no. In terms of money.
They have 5 years to do it.
In terms of money.
Well,
We're not talking time. In terms of money, can you reduce taxes while you're raising?
I think it could be done. I don't know if Jordan can do it.
Why not?
I don't know him to be quite an innovative fellow and very sharp with ideas. I know him to be an economist, what I call an old-style economist from the 1980s. I think he's a good man. He's a good economist. He's been trained and so. But from the little I know, I don't know him to be a man with bright ideas and
he's
sharp.
Well, of course, he's never worked at a policy level. But here it is. He has been budget director of the country.
He's been involved in policy issues the finance ministry for a long number of years.
Well, then he's capable of doing
he might be capable. I don't know if he's sharp and innovative and has bright ideas. When we come to this question of cutting VAT, doing this for the payroll and the wages and all that, the whole question of where is this money going to come from to do all of this? And how are you going to stop the hemorrhaging at Gaisuko, which is $8 billion a year with 16,000 people at 200,000 tons? I'm not hearing anybody saying, how are you going to stop this hemorrhaging? Nobody's talking about that. That's real tough business. And I think I talked to you privately before. You need Jack Welch in this country to straighten that thing. I don't know if they can do it. We cannot continue with Gaisuko the way it's going $8 billion a year. $8 billion a year, $23 million every day. Every day. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And unless somebody can stop this hemorrhaging, we're in big trouble. Because all the good things you do will go down the drain.
Hold on. My question was, given the state of our finances, our obligations to all these various interest groups, can the APNUFC deliver on its commitments on the entire manifesto? Not just the 100 days.
Well, take the question of Gaisuko, which I consider to be the most critical fiscal crisis problem facing them right now today. They're talking in the manifesto about a commission of inquiry. Mm-hmm. That's what they're saying. I think it's a cop-out. It's a commission of, you can always get a commission of inquiry into anything. They have to deal with hemorrhaging. Gaisuko needs ER medicine. You ever watch ER? Trauma medicine. They need a doctor. Emergency room medicine. You need a doctor there to administer medicine to stop hemorrhaging. I work at a hospital years ago, and we have thing there to stop hemorrhaging called Premarin, and they need big dose of Premarin.
No. All right, the viewers are not going to.
They understand what I'm saying.
No, they wouldn't know what Premarin. But the point is this: when you say hemorrhaging,
yes,
and the doses of medicine, are you suggesting that the only way to deal with the Gaisuko problem is to slash the number of employees?
No, it's not the only way.
How would you?
The way to deal with Gaisuko, first of all, is for us to get the diagnostics right.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what they talk about the commission of inquiry. You call it diagnostics.
We can't wait. In my opinion, you can't wait to no commission of inquiry into that.
So who does the diagnostics?
We know the problems at Gaisuko. You know the problems at Gaisuko. Mm-hmm. We don't need a commission of inquiry.
So when you say the diagnostics, what do we do? How do you go about it?
Well, when you get the diagnostics right, you'll get the right prescription for the prognosis of it. You have to deal with the diagnosis. Once you get that right, you'll get the prognosis right.
But isn't it true?
But whatever you do, it is going to require tough medicine down there.
And tough medicine meaning what? You don't want to use the J word, jobs.
But you might have to do what they call in America restructuring. You have to restructure this whole place. And the mode and the management and the workforce, plus some work to be done in the fields. And you have to decide whether you want to privatize the harvesting or keep it inside the company. It requires tough decisions. And I don't know.
Tough and innovative decisions.
Yes, and I don't know who there is going to do that. I don't know.
I know you have been, from time to time, prepared alternative budget. Mm-hmm. If you were to, and you love your calculator and your figures.
Yeah, tonight is the first time I walked with it. In case you challenge my numbers, here I walk with my calculator. Go ahead.
Have you looked, based on the APNU AFC plan,
if it's doable?
Doable in terms of a budget? And remember, they also talk about how you're going to control the debt, how you're going to control
I think it's doable.
the deficit.
I think it's doable. I think you can raise the money, not very painfully, to do this thing, to pay workers a decent wage in the public service and in the military and the police.
But you're reducing taxes at the same time.
You reduce the VAT, you start to reduce the VAT, maybe a point or two, and then next year do another 2 points. There are ways and means you can raise money to do all of that. But you ain't going to raise money and then give Guy Succo 8 billion. Because Guy Succo will undo all of your work. All what you're trying to achieve, Guy Succo will undo it. Because they need 8 billion. Right? So that's the problem down here. I see it.
Is Guy Succo an economic problem or a political problem?
Right now, Guy Succo is a political problem. It's an economic mess and a crisis. But it's been run as a political entity rather than an economic entity in the past, because the board is political, the management is political, the workforce is political, the union is political, and the product too is political. So it's all politics down there, and you really can't get the tough economic decisions in that place.
What would you do with NISIL?
Well, NISIL has to be fundamentally straightened out, and all the Marriott and all the Berbice Bridge and all the things they're involved in, that got to be straightened out. I don't know who's going to do it, really.
When you say straighten out, what do you mean?
Here again, somebody has to go inside there, go into the books, see the whole thing, see the problem, do the diagnostics, and then deal with it. And similarly with the Berbice Bridge. In the APNU manifesto for the first 100 days, the first number one item is to reduce the tolls. Now that could be a problem because the Berbice Bridge is a private company. I don't know how to do it. The way to do it legally, of course, in my opinion, is to put it under the PUC and let Prempasad and them do it. But I don't think the government of Guyana can go to a private company and say, well, here, we're reducing tolls.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
But the government of Guyana can put the bridge company under the PUC.
Of course, and you and I
go to the public hearings.
You and I know this. We've talked about this. I've said this on television many times. It was a Brassington structure, the financial structure of the bridge. It cannot work, and
the bridge has to be nationalized.
It has to be nationalized. You enter into negotiation with the creditors because the bulk of the shares are held by the state.
Anyhow, that has to be nationalized. But in the program, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing something about reducing tolls. But the solution to that problem of the bridge up there is to nationalize it and bring it into the public sector.
Now,
the state sector.
In terms of, we've heard a lot about parallel treasury, and you have parallel treasury, and you have sub-treasuries. Wouldn't a simple amendment to the legislation that all these funds must be deposited into the consolidated fund?
The Constitution already says that in 2016.
Well, they're arguing over it. Put it beyond doubt. Amend the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act.
You can do that. You can do that. But a new government and a new minister could take the billions in the slush funds and the GGMC, and the GFC, and the lottery, and all over, and just give it into the consolidated fund. A new minister can do it if he wanted to do it.
But the point we're making is you have it written in the law that is very clear, remove any ambiguity.
Well, a new minister will say, well, my interpretation of 216 is I'm taking this thing and I'm putting it over there, because 216 says even those agencies that can keep money, they can only keep such sums that they need to defray expenses, and the rest of it has to go there. So a new minister can deal with it.
It's not that clear. I mean, that's how it can be interpreted, but it is not that clearly
well,
written.
They can clarify, but in the meanwhile, a new government can deal with that. If you go to the GGMC, you find out that the billions in there, the new minister can transfer it to the consolidated.
What would you do with the Marriott?
Put it up for sale. Put it up for sale internationally.
Not to the Chinese? Sell to the Chinese? Give them the 2/3 as Mr.
No. Not to sell that thing for $8 million, 2/3 of net worth. That's all nonsense, Brassington talking. No, that's all nonsense that you can buy that thing for $8 million US. No.
What would you do with the Chronicle? Should the government still stay in that business?
The government doesn't have to own a newspaper, but the government always thinks that if all the newspapers are anti-government, they have their own paper sometimes to put out their own story.
That was not the question I asked you. What would you do with
What
it?
I would do? You
Yeah.
wouldn't like to know what I would do with all
No, well,
those
tell
things.
me, please.
What I would do.
It's the last question. So you better
What I
say.
would do with the
Yes.
Chronicle? Well, the Chronicle started to behave themselves if they're profitable or they're loss. If they can
So
run,
you think the state should remain in the print media?
I have no problem if the
You have
state.
no philosophical difficulty?
No, if the state keeps a newspaper, so long as it's not a burden on the taxpayer and so long as it's not a party organ. Because in America you have the PBS, the public broadcasting system. The problem is we don't understand how to do a public broadcasting
All
system.
right.
And there's nothing wrong with Channel 11 other than they don't know how to do PBS. That's their problem.
Thank you, Mr. Gaskin,
You're welcome.
for this very interesting discussion. It's been very wide-ranging. Over the next few days, I guess, President Granger will resolve the remainder of his cabinet. We should have a pretty good idea as to what the new arrangement will be. Of course, after this, the cabinet has been appointed. Lots of boards will have to be reconstituted. Lots of corporations will have to be addressed. So over the next few months, President Granger will certainly have his task cut out, whilst they have the 100 days commitment. And I think Mr. Ramon said the 100 days started from Saturday when President Granger was sworn in. It's a very challenging task, but we hope that they're all up to it.